What's up, everybody? It's Rob Lawrence from VRA Realty Alliance. Today I'm going to talk to you about investing in the Philadelphia suburbs. Is it a good idea? Where should you invest in the Philadelphia suburbs? It's a huge area with a ton of different demographics in different areas. I'm going to break it all down. I'm a realtor based out of Westchester, Pennsylvania, and I help a lot of investors buy multifamily and single family and do flips in the area. So anyway, I'm going to go through it all, tell you about the different areas where people are investing, and explain the numbers, explain what I think about investing in the Philadelphia suburbs. All right, let's get into it. So the suburbs of Philadelphia is a big area, and for the purpose of this discussion, I'm going to mostly talk about Delaware County, Chester County, and Montgomery County, which are all sitting to basically the west of Philadelphia. Not to be confused with West Philadelphia, which is a different area. And, I'm going to go through the different, I would say, hot spots for investors and talk about what performance you should expect from the investments, what price points you should expect, the challenges, the real life challenges, and the real life opportunities that the area presents. Let's start by looking at a map, and I'll show you where I'm talking about. I'm going to point out a couple areas that people do love investing. Okay, where in the world is Philadelphia? Right here. Okay, let's zoom in. So the first thing I want to do is actually look at a satellite version of the map, because this kind of tells the story a little bit on the areas and the densities. You can see a ton of green in here. This would be considered Eastern Delaware County. You can see a lot of density right here next to Philadelphia. So there's a lot of opportunities in this area and some lower cost housing, and I'll get into that. You got Westchester, which is a common area, and it has some challenges with investing, but also some opportunities. Downingtown, Coatesville, Parksburg's about as far west as I go. And then you've got up here in Pottstown, Chester Springs, Phoenixville, Royersford, Collegeville. And then over here, kind of what they call the main line. And there's different opportunities, in each area. So let's talk about multifamilies in the area. So in the MLS, I can do a multifamily search by county. So I'm just going to put Chester, Delaware. And this is going to tell us an interesting story about where the multifamilies are. So let's look at the results. Now you can see the concentration of multifamilies tends to be over here, right? So you can see a bunch in Coatesville, a bunch in Pottstown. This is Norristown right over here. And then a ton in Eastern Delaware County. So if multifamily investing is what you're looking to do, and you got some in Phoenixville as well, you can kind of see that there's an area where they tend to be, which is right down here. I would say the biggest opportunity is in Eastern Delaware County. You'll see a ton of multifamilies come through. Now, when you're doing multifamily investing, you got to understand that you have to be zoned. So you can't just take any residential house and make it a multifamily. So some areas are friendly to multifamily investing and some are not, or there's just not a lot of properties with multifamily. So a lot of investors want to do a multifamily deal, but they got to understand that, hey, it's going to depend on what area you're in. And then let's take a look at some of the price points here. So just to give you a quick idea, you can see that they're starting in the city of Chester, which is probably a really economical place to live, let's say. So you can see that a unit is selling for $82,000. So they start around there, and we can go up to multifamily properties for $1.5 million in Westchester. No surprise, Westchester is expensive area, but has opportunities. So you can see, when you go into the MLS, you'll see, different information about a property. They may not have a lot of pictures. Multifamily investing is a whole thing to understand. You got to look at, are the utilities split? Are there any zoning issues? Sometimes people will use multifamilies and they'll not actually be zoned. They'll just take the house and make it multifamily, and it's not actually zoned multifamily. So you got to do a lot of due diligence. You got to make sure that people are paying their rents. You got to see the leases. It's kind of like doing, if you're doing a triplex, it's kind of like doing 3 deals almost, making sure that all 3 properties line up. The multifamilies tend to be more beat up by tenants. They're not usually like the Class A, although sometimes you find some. I did this one property in Royersford, which was just really cool. So when you're looking at these investments in multifamily, sometimes they can be hard to value, but you're going to usually use about a 1% rule in our area. Maybe in some of the rougher neighborhoods you can get to 2%, but that's really tough. But a 1% rental tends to work in our area based on the taxes, price point, and what rents you will pull. So that's a quick rule of thumb. So 1% rule means, if you're not familiar with that, that means if you're going to spend $250,000 on the house or multifamily property, the rent should be around $2,500 per month. If you're hitting those metrics, then you've likely got a good deal, and it's okay to dig in deeper. So you're going to evaluate a lot of deals probably really fast. And, some places the taxes are high, some places they're not. But let me just show you one of the deals that I just did an analysis on a multifamily. Okay, so you can see this deal right here that I'm working on with a client, and it's actually, I think, a pretty good deal. So the sales price is around $240,000. The rents are around $2,500 a month. And so that passes the 1% rule right off the bat. So we pass the sniff test, and then we dig in deeper. We've got utilities that are split, which is great. The property condition, we're going to check it out on Wednesday. So anyway, you kind of get the idea of what you got to put into it and how bad it is. It's currently rented, and we have the rent rolls. We know that we're looking over the documents. So anyway, you can kind of see here, we got a 7.9% cap rate, which is a great cap rate. You're going to make good cash on cash return. So you can see like $18,000, $19,000 a year on an investment of $63,000, and that certainly does beat the stock market, doesn't it? And prices in our area have been appreciating around the 8 to 18% rate over the past couple years. So the prices have gone up here, but it's slowing down a little bit. Anyway, you can see here I just have, the income, the mortgage payment, a vacancy rate, the property taxes, about $400 a month, insurance, maintenance, other costs, which is really like water and sewer, and then our cash flow at $600, and then the net operating income. So net operating income, they'll look at how much are you paying down the mortgage and how much is the property appreciating in value as well. So, you're not all just cash flow. There's three ways you can really make money in multifamily investing. And I think also there's probably an opportunity to make an improvement on this property, improve the rents, and when you improve the rents, you push the price of using a forced appreciation. Hope I'm keeping everybody here with me. So analyzing a multifamily property is actually pretty straightforward, and you shouldn't make it overly complicated. I'm an engineer by background, so I do like numbers, and running the numbers is a favorite thing of an engineer to do. That's what we do on Saturday nights for fun instead of drink beer and all that. But just kidding. I like beer. So anyway, there's other ways to invest in the area besides multifamily. One of the things you can think about is flipping a house in the area or doing a single family rental. Both of those are options. I mean, you can cash flow pretty well. I did one deal in Westchester that cash flowed. I think they're cash flowing around $900 a month on like a 215 purchase. You have to watch out with a lot of HOAs in the area because some of them are maxed out on their amount of rentals allowed, or maybe they don't allow rentals. So you have to make sure that when you're buying something, you state your intent and you're talking that through with the HOA, and make sure that you're getting the business that you think you're buying, right? So that's important. And the single family rentals can work in a lot of different areas. I mean, Eastern Delaware County especially is easy to cash flow. I'm going to show you some more areas on the map here. Okay, so now I'm going to go through a few of those towns I was talking about and describe what they're like. One thing I didn't even mention actually is Wilmington, which I think has great investment opportunities. I'm also licensed in Delaware and do help people in Wilmington, but I haven't really talked about that, but maybe that's time for another video. Where I live, which is Westchester, so you've got about a square mile, which is the borough, and in the borough there are student housing rentals. Those are limited, so you have to have a student housing permit, and they're difficult to get. So if you do get one, it's kind of more valuable. Something to think about. There's limited multifamily housing. I think there's two multis for sale right now for $500 for a duplex, and I think $1.5 for something else. So, in Westchester, your cap rates are not great. If you can get a 6% cap rate, you're doing okay. And even get something cash flowing, that's good. But, this whole area presents a really interesting opportunity. It's a nice area with great schools. So a single family rental here can actually do very well with a nice family in it as well. Downingtown Borough has some good rentals. And then Coatesville is a place that attracts a lot of investors and a lot of people looking to flip houses and people looking to, just rent houses and the multifamily. So I do a lot in Coatesville. I've done a couple multifamily deals over here. One guy bought one. He lives in one unit and lives there for free. So that's really nice. And yeah, so those are good areas. I actually like Phoenixville a lot too because it's a young area. A lot of people are college age going to bars. They got like the most breweries per square mile or whatever it is. Anyway, that's a good place for good cash flow, I think, on rentals. And it's up and coming a little bit. And then let's talk about the main line over here, Willow Grove. This is actually a good place to flip on high value flips. I know a friend who's been making $200,000 a flip, $100,000 a flip. And Ardmore is actually an interesting place for Airbnbs. There's so much different stuff to know about this area, but I'm kind of giving you a quick crash course. Now, when you go into Eastern Delaware County, it's very dense. The rents start to drop. You've got Darby, which is a little bit on the, I don't know how you want to say that, but the rents are a little bit lower there. Chester is an area a lot of investors will stay away from. I'm actually doing a deal right now in Marcus Hook I have under contract for an investor. But right over here, Chester is probably one of the rougher and cheapest areas, though some investors I know have good experiences there. So, maybe that's a good place to start for someone who doesn't have a ton of dough. I'm just kind of taking you through this map, and over here I know a lot of people that flip houses as well, and they typically will send letters to homeowners, find a house that's distressed, and then make that person a cash offer. I hope that's been helpful a little bit, understanding some of these different areas and what it's like investing around the Philadelphia area. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? The answer is yes. It can be a good idea or a bad idea. Depends if you know what you're doing and have the right help. Again, guys, I'm Rob Lawrence, based out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. I help people do this. So I help investors, buy flips, sell flips, invest in rentals, buy and hold, we call that, in the Westchester area. We actually have a meetup that we do on the second Wednesday of every month at Timothy's in Westchester. So I'd love to invite you to that. I'll put the link to that in the description down below. It's free. There's no sales pitch. It's just investors getting together to network, and you are who you surround yourself with. So if you want to get started in investing, one of the most important things is surrounding yourself with investors. And I say it's like peer pressure, right? If you hang out with a bunch of people that do drugs, you're going to do drugs. If you hang out with a bunch of people that invest in real estate, you're going to invest in real estate. And that's just our nature. So we have to kind of take advantage of our nature. It's pretty awesome. I love going to those. My broker, I think he's flipped like 150 houses. He goes to the meetups. We have Dave Van Horn, who wrote the Bigger Pockets Notes book, the book on investing in notes. He comes to our meetups. And, you're obviously more than welcome to reach out to me. If you want to run an investment by me, if you want me to help you buy an investment in the area, I'm more than happy to do so. I love helping people build wealth through real estate. It's one of my passions for myself and for my clients. I also did like a live and flip on my own house. You can check out that video. I've done a rental in Florida. My wife and I are looking to buy another rental right now. So anyway, you can tell I love real estate investing. I love helping people do it. It's freeing, it's awesome, and it's the best way that I've found you can build wealth, and I'd really studied it hard. So anyway, reach out to me today. Let's get started. I just helped the person who contacted me off YouTube 3 days ago. He's under contract on his first investment in the Delaware County area. So anyway, get at me. I'll talk to you later. Have a great day, everybody.